This mountain of trash in Northeast Portland has been growing since last year, but a week after we put it on TV, and the city is finally cleaning it up.
It's just great. I'm glad that this is happening. It's just been a nightmare.
We all know this is a massive problem in every corner of Portland, so the city's throwing a bunch of money at a new project to clean it up. And since we're talking solutions, here's an idea for our homeless crisis. Tiny houses all over the city.
We're going to spend $1.5 million on this first camp, but it'll house up to 100 people.
Here's the story.
Well, we didn't get all the less stuff for nothing. Thanks for being with us. I'm Dan Haggerty, all dressed up. This is the story. All the ways to communicate with us at the bottom of your screen. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com or use that hashtag HeyDan on Twitter. Let's get started with the big story. Now, look, we've been talking a lot about this, but bear with me here. Let's go back. Let's talk about, one more time, that big pile of trash that we have been discussing for about a week now on the show. You're probably very familiar with it, more familiar than you'd ever think you'd be with a big pile of trash. But see, this pile of trash stretches at least a half a block at the corner of Northeast Burnside and 160th Avenue. It has caused a fire at one point. There was a rat infestation. And it's been there since last year. Now, I know what you're going to say. Dan, there are mountains of trash just like this one all over town. Why are you so fixated with this one? And that's a great question. Thank you for asking. We've been told multiple times by the city that this mountain of trash didn't quite qualify for a cleanup. So we did a few stories on it because we found that to be kind of strange. And on Tuesday, lo and behold, we found out it was finally posted for a cleanup. And today, crews got to work. Here's Christelle Kumwe.
Yes! Yes! Clean it up! Hey!
Residents in this Northeast Portland neighborhood are celebrating.
Oh, yes. Yes! I am very happy.
I've got my got the smile on today. I was thinking it's about time.
A massive pile of trash is being cleaned up at the corner of Burnside and Northeast 160th.
It's just great. I'm glad that this is happening. It's just been a nightmare.
Neighbors tell us the pile has been here for about a year and has grown significantly over the last few months.
More garbage. More garbage. Big rats. Everything. I am so happy. Yes. Yes.
Neighbors seeing the rapid response team park on their block couldn't hide their excitement.
I just feel wonderful. It's going to be great to have that all gone. Know everybody will be safe. The rats maybe will go somewhere else.
The rapid response team initially brought one truck and a few members to help clean up the pile, but once on scene, they quickly realized they would need more help and called upon another truck and additional members.
That's the second truck.
Last week, when we reported on the neighbors' complaints, the city initially told us they did not have plans to remove the mess, saying it was considered a low health risk site and didn't meet criteria for removal. Then earlier this week, a neighbor notified us someone from the city told them the site was posted for removal. On Thursday, the rapid response crews picked up the garbage. They also took away the tent being used by a man on the property. This week, he was arrested for assault. Mary says he punched her in the face when she tried to take a picture of the trash pile.
Hopefully the fella can get help and everyone will be okay.
This was the first time I actually got to exchange words with him and meet him in person.
Cascadia Behavioral Health Care was also on scene at one point contacting the man. The outreach team's primary role is to support people living outside, especially if there's a behavioral health need.
Anybody that's outside, we show up to outreach. Are you okay? Why are you here? Do you want services? Are you hungry?
With the trash cleanup, neighbors feel the area will not only look better for potential renters, it will be much safer.
And we can finally get the kids back to the school bus stop because it's literally right here on the corner.
Yes.
Christelle Kumwe.
I am real happy.
KGW News.
I'm pretty sure the neighbors are too.
Well, there you have it. You noticed, though, that last shot. Was it all cleaned up? Did they get everything? They didn't. Look, rapid response, they had 4 trucks out there. They worked for hours and hours. They cleaned up as much as they could, but they're not done. They have to come back out tomorrow. So a pile of trash that wasn't even worth cleaning up the first time around actually needed 2 days to clean up. So now that this one pile of trash is solved, why don't we talk about solutions for the rest of our garbage problems? Now, city officials have said it could take as long as 2 years to clean up the trash in this city. 2 years. I know that that is so discouraging for people to hear. I know that because you tell me every night. You ask me what you can do to help, how you can get involved. After one of our last trash stories, I got this from Susan. She wrote me and said, "I'd love to volunteer using my truck to collect trash. Who should I contact?" I see more and more emails like this every night. People who think that it is time to act instead of complain. I mean, you can still complain. You can act and complain. There's no harm in that. But city leaders realize this, that people want to get involved. So they're investing in it. See, yesterday, council put $750,000 to kickstart some nonprofits and community groups like Solve. Solve's probably, I'd say, the most well-known organizers of these types of things. They do cleanups every week and weekend in the city and around the state. These pictures here, obviously you see the coast in the background. This is from their Earth Day cleanup they did recently. But to give you an idea of what they're encountering in the city, over the last weekend, they picked up trash in the East Bank Esplanade. 60 people showed up, and they picked up 3,200 pounds of trash and 160 needles. 3,000 pounds in one area on one Saturday. But look, this money, this $750,000, it isn't necessarily for them to work with. It's for you to work with, to inspire you to help and to organize and to take this city back.
And if they really are interested, they can do the event themselves. And so what we would do is we would set them up with all the supplies that they would need to safely go out and clean an area that they felt really passionately about. We can give them advice on how to dispose of the trash. We do all the safety supplies, all the cleanup, everything they would need to just go out and do it on their own, to give people another opportunity.
So Solve just like, they give you all the stuff. They tell you what to do. They take care of all the tough stuff. You just got to pick it up. It sounds so easy. I feel like I could do that. Should we do that? Should we organize a cleanup? I mean, if I did, would you do it with me? I do think it's time we actually met after the year we've gone through. I'm serious. I talked to Solve about this today. They told me they could safely organize 100 people to stay COVID safe and go out and do one of these cleanups. Now, we don't have a location yet. We don't have a weekend or a date that we want to do it, but let me know if you're interested. If you want to hang out with me and the story team and clean up this town, let's do it together. Email me, send me a message on Twitter. Let me know what you think. Use the hashtag #HeyDan. Now let's keep talking about solutions. We'll stay on this theme, shall we? Next up, homelessness. I know, it seems insurmountable right now. Enter a Portland man who says he can rally the private sector to help our city gain some real ground. And he's got a sleek video presentation to boot. Here's Maggie Vespa.
With the proper support, we will build communities that will be carefully managed and thoughtfully designed to break the cycle of living on the streets.
Sleek, attractive villages of easy-to-assemble tiny pods with plumbing and electric running throughout, space for up to 2 people in each unit, and meeting spaces where residents can relax together.
We think we can address the housing problem.
Homer Williams wants to see these managed communities scattered throughout Portland. A longtime local architect credited with developing the city's Pearl District, Williams says he's zeroing in on a spot for the first village now. He won't tell us where. He just says it's in Portland and he hopes to have it up and running this summer.
We're going to spend $1.5 million on this first camp, but it'll house up to 100 people.
That $1.5 million, Williams says, is being raised privately through his nonprofit Oregon Harbor of Hope. It's the group that built that grain shelter and navigation center under the west end of the Broadway Bridge and paid for these trucks you might have seen driving around town. They offer free shower and laundry services 6 days a week. But now, Williams is thinking bigger, fearing COVID and wildfires will continue to make Oregon's housing crisis exponentially worse. This week, he's pushing his new 4-point plan to tackle the issue. These pod villages are just one prong. Point number 2, adopt one block, a trash pickup program already up and running in Portland. Williams wants to help it grow.
This is one of these things why didn't I think about that?
He also wants to raise money to help the city and county buy and refurbish more motels and build up Home Share Oregon, a program that offers tax incentives to homeowners who take in a person experiencing homelessness. KGW covered the launch of the program last fall. In short, Williams wants to work alongside the city and county, helping inject private money into versions of government programs and make things move faster.
There's the money available to deal with, which I think is the most intractable problem that any West Coast city has.
The timing of this is really poignant. The debut of Williams' idea comes alongside a big announcement from Multnomah County leadership as to how they plan to tackle homelessness heading into the new fiscal year. The pitch from County Chair Deborah Kafoury lays out how she wants to start spending funds from the $2.5 billion supportive services measure approved by metro area voters last May. $52 million under her plan would go toward things like rent assistance, behavioral health, and addiction services. Another $10 million would go toward opening 400 more shelter beds, many of them in motels. Chair Kafoury's plan still has to be approved by the county board before the new fiscal year begins in July. Maggie Vespa, KGW News.
Now, since it is Earth Day and we've been talking about trash, I think it's a good time to look at one of the ways that Oregon has just nailed it, has done it really, really well, and has really led the country in this effort to be green. I'm talking about our landmark bottle bill, and it's about to hit a big milestone.
Oregon's bottle bill turns 50 this year. It's rare for a piece of legislation to get as much attention as it has. So, how did we get here? When Oregon leaders passed the bill in 1971, it started as a litter control measure. It was the first of its kind in the United States. At the time, bottles made up about 40% of litter. But as the decade wore on, Oregon's Department of Environmental Quality said that number dropped to under 11% by 1973, and then just 6% by 1979. DEQ attributed that drop to the bottle bill. A study in 2006 found states with similar bills recycled on average 33% of their containers. It's expanded 3 times, in 2007 when water bottles were allowed, and then in 2011 when leaders approved doubling the deposit from 5 cents to 10 cents if they hit certain benchmarks, which they did by 2017. Last March, when the pandemic hit, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission let grocery stores stop accepting bottle returns because of COVID concerns. But people could still take them to bottle drop redemption centers. Since then, the state has slowly phased back into the bottle return requirements for counties at low or moderate risk levels for COVID, which right now are mostly rural counties. And that's how we got here. It's been almost a week since everyone 16 and older in Oregon became eligible for the vaccine. So why are outbreaks still happening at long-term care facilities? I thought they all had the shot by now. We'll look into that when the story continues.
Welcome back. So we've been hearing from some of you who DVR this show every night, and we've been hearing you've had a hard time recording it, that it hasn't been recording. Well, apparently that is a real problem, and it has been fixed on our end. So please try resetting your daily recordings, and that should work for you. Of course, if you ever miss a show for any reason, you can always watch it on the KGW YouTube channel, and I share a link to that on my Facebook timeline. You can find it there each and every night. Now, when the vaccine first came out, the first people to get it were the people living in long-term care, the people living in our nursing homes. They were the most vulnerable by far. Here's a statistic for you. As of today, about 2,400 people have died from COVID in Oregon, and half of them, about 1,200, were elderly people living in long-term care. That is why everyone works so hard to get them vaccinated first. Got them vaccinated beginning months ago, starting back in December, which is why stories like these were so confusing to me recently. This was posted yesterday to KGW.com. 24 active COVID outbreaks in senior living communities and congregate living settings. Christy was confused by this as well. She emailed me and said, I'm curious about that, since I thought the elderly have been fully vaccinated. Can you have your team explain the reason for that? Well, here is what we know. An outbreak, first of all, is 3 or more confirmed cases and 1 or more deaths. There are 24 of those, as we stated just above there. 83 facilities in Oregon have at least 1 case right now, and 5 people have died in the last week. The numbers are higher than what we were seeing last spring and last summer. And as surprising as all that is to me, the Oregon Healthcare Association says they actually expected it, considering cases in general are going up.
Throughout the pandemic, we have seen that long-term care communities have tended to reflect the communities in which they live. And what I noted from the data on the recent positive cases, that I would say about 75% or more of those positive cases are associated with staff, and less than 25% are consumers. And I would say about 75% are outside the Portland metro area.
Okay. Kind of gives a little clarity, right? The outbreaks are happening among the staff in the care facilities, not necessarily the residents. They're picking up COVID as they go about their lives, and then they come into work. But the numbers also include anyone in their household who tests positive, which can kind of inflate it when you're talking about those specific care facilities. Right now, 65 long-term care facilities have at least 1 case of COVID-19 among their staff, and 18 facilities have residents and staff who have tested positive. In Oregon, staff members are not required to get vaccinated.
So in Oregon, we have a law that prohibits healthcare providers from mandating a vaccination for anyone who's a licensed caregiver, a licensed medical professional. So nursing facilities cannot mandate vaccinations, and assisted living facilities can't mandate it for anyone who's also licensed by an oversight board. It's questionable whether or not they could require it for unlicensed staff and caregivers, but to my knowledge, nobody has chosen to mandate it to date. I think they're hoping that people will become more comfortable with getting vaccinated and will choose to do so.
So the Oregon Healthcare Association, they have talked to long-term care providers, and that man there, most of the people he's talked to, he said he estimates about 80% of their staff has been vaccinated. So now that's a pretty high number. He says that they're still concerned, though, for those residents, but the cases that they are seeing are less severe than before the vaccine rollout. 90%, keep this in mind, 90% of Oregon's long-term care facilities don't have any COVID cases at all right now. All right, let's do our daily count, shall we? Do this each and every day. Why stop now? 1.68 million Oregonians have gotten at least their first dose. The majority of them have gotten their second dose as well, and that puts us at 40% of the state's population with at least 1 shot. That's a pretty good milestone, don't you think? 40%. I didn't think we'd ever get there. In Washington, more than 3.21 million people have gotten at least their first dose. That's a little bit more than 42% of Washington's population. Now, ever since people started getting their shots, we've had this dedicated team following all the daily updates for you and answering all of your questions about the vaccine and COVID. And I know some of you like a little peek behind the curtain every once in a while about our process, how that's done. So Laurel Porter had both Pat Doris and Kristen Severance on Straight Talk this week to talk about their reporting.
You both are part of our KGW vaccine team. Describe for us what your mission has been since the vaccine became available. We'll begin with Pat.
Well, we've been trying to field all the questions that come into us and sort of become a clearinghouse and then gather the information and then share our knowledge as fast as we can with the viewers and with each other as well.
And Kristen.
Yeah, this was such a huge story, Laurel, and we all knew that it would last months, if not longer. And so we really went at it from this team approach. You know, you see Pat every single day at the top of the shows, you know, with that big vaccine story of the day. And then I've been able to do some, you know, deep dive and accountability stories. We have Galen Etlin doing some other stories about, you know, community groups, maybe some people, you know, helping other groups find the vaccine. And then we also have producers and, you know, digital reporters on this. So it was such a big story. And so we went at it from a team approach, and it has really paid off.
It has been all hands on deck, absolutely. And you can watch this interview on Straight Talk, and they get into a lot of the things that are happening right now when it comes to COVID and the vaccine, not just process in our reporting. It's very interesting. They recorded it today. You can watch it tomorrow at 7 p.m. right here on KGW. It'll also be on our YouTube channel. And I should mention, all right, keep in mind, we are following the news of the woman here in Oregon who died of a rare blood clot after getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Health officials haven't confirmed that she died directly in relation to getting that vaccine so recently, but we're still working on all of that information. We're trying to get as much as we can. We're going to have an update for you on KGW News at 6:30. Also, if you have any questions for our vaccine team, let me know. Use that hashtag #HeyDan. I'll send them their way to Pat and Kristen and all the other people we got working on it. Send some comments, too. I'll read a few in just a bit. But first, do any of you, off the top of your head, know how Earth Day started? It's not just a made-up holiday, okay? We're going to look into the history when we finish the story. Next. Welcome back. And since it is Earth Day, you might be wondering how is this a day? Like, how'd this all come about? There's actually a little bit more to it than you might think. And Nita Melhoff dug into the KGW vault.
In 1969, a blowout at a Union Oil platform spilled close to 100,000 barrels of crude oil into the Santa Barbara Channel. The New York Times environmental correspondent Gladwin Hill called it the ecological shot heard round the world. Having traveled to see the devastation firsthand, Wisconsin Senator Gaylord Nelson decided something bigger had to be done. Inspired by the teach-ins against the Vietnam War, Senator Nelson envisioned a day dedicated to environmental awareness, so he teamed up with Congressman Pete McCloskey and student activist Dennis Hayes to push the Earth Day movement forward. The first Earth Day was Wednesday, April 22nd, 1970, a weekday falling between spring break and final exams. The date was chosen to maximize participation on college campuses. It was a huge success. From New York to San Francisco and all across the United States, an estimated 20 million people came together in support of environmental reform. And the federal government took notice. By December of 1970, Congress authorized the creation of a new federal agency, one designed to tackle environmental issues you might know as the EPA. And other environmental legislation soon followed. What came to be known as the Clean Water Act became law in 1972. The Endangered Species Act soon followed in 73. Today, Earth Day is celebrated around the world as a way to promote environmental awareness and a reminder that all of us can protect the Earth in our everyday lives.
And maybe Earth Day's got you inspired. It's got me inspired. I'm getting so many responses. People who want to join the Story Team PDX cleanup. That name is still, we're still shopping names, but we're excited. So I haven't come up with a date yet. I'm talking to Solve right now about how to kind of organize this, pick an area of town that really needs some help, but I've already got some people committed and I'm holding you to it because it's on the internet. You can't take it back. Sean says she's in. Mark, he said, even though I live outside of the Portland proper, sign me up for a PDX cleanup. I like that. Way to go. Thank you, Mark. Betsy said, let's pick up some trash together. Name the time and place. Jeff said, solve me up and count me in. Larry, I have my own grabber ready to go. You have your own grabber. I think they provide the equipment, but I like your commitment. Thanks for being with us tonight. Stay tuned for the latest on the cleanup. I appreciate you as always. We'll see you back here tomorrow.